Hello and welcome to Petronella Computer Consultants' presentation of Protect Your IT, Protect Your Future. In the next 25 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you some information that some of you may find to be startling. But if it is, that's actually good news, because I'd prefer that you know what you don't know, especially when it comes to protecting your IT infrastructure. As you'll see, a poorly protected IT infrastructure leaves your company wide open for cyber attacks, and that in turn creates real risk for you and your future. But first, let's take care of a little housekeeping. It looks like there'll be more people here today than we can respond to while we're online. So go ahead and type your questions into the box at the bottom of the screen, and we will respond in less than one day. Check your speakers and your screen size and make sure your phones are muted. I wouldn't want you to miss any of the information. Now, I do need to point out that we're recording this because a few people have told us they weren't able to attend, and we're going to send the recording to them, and that's the primary reason for muting your phones. But you're going to learn how to protect your important company information, increase worker productivity, have peace of mind about your future, and keep your company up and running while lowering cost. And all of that can be done by optimizing your IT infrastructure. You're going to learn why your IT system accelerates or reduces the acquisition of profitable revenue, why most businesses aren't aware of the risk, and why you should be afraid, indeed very afraid, of the potential downfalls that could come on your company as a result of not paying attention to some of these bits of advice that we'll share with you. You're going to learn how outsourcing your IT management, your infrastructure management, is a profit booster. And you'll learn why many of our current clients refer to us as their partner in profit, because we've been able to document significant productivity increases for their workers, and increasing productivity translates into an improvement in profitability. You're going to learn how to gain peace of mind regarding your future and your company's future, and how to know with 100% certainty that your information is protected 100% of the time. Now, we have to make sure that you understand a new phrase. It's called MSP, and some people don't really know what that is. But Petronella is an MSP. That stands for Managed Service Provider. We help our clients manage their IT infrastructure because we know that their computers run their business, and we want to make sure that those computers are running at optimum levels at all times. So the net result is our clients get full-time IT management at part-time cost. Our clients understand that hiring a full-time professional IT person and keeping him or her educated to the ever-changing needs in the industry is a very significant cost. We take that cost off of your shoulders. Because we work with a preventative management strategy, you will never be surprised by any activity that we undertake. You're in control at all times. Therefore, productivity will go up, and you can turn your attention to the mission-critical activities that will help you build your business. Many of our clients have told us that we've given them more time to work on their business. I'd like to take you back for a little bit of a history tour, if you will. You're looking at a gentleman whose job was called computer. Back in the early days, that position was a computer, not the machine, the man. That was his title. And what he actually did is he tabulated numerically utilizing punch cards like the one you're looking at on your screen. Over time, computers advanced and got to be huge. Now, that particular computer system didn't need to have the concerns that we're going to discuss today, and here's why. All of that company's data was in that machine. That machine was frequently in a separate building. Certainly, it was segregated from the rest of the workers, and the only people that could access that machine were certified and qualified IT professionals. But as time went on and advancements occurred, many people, some of whom were amateur or hobbyists, got involved with setting up and managing computers. So part of the frustration that many business owners have today is we were promised to have an easy way to go implementing desktop computing. The shrinkage of computers created modern computing, but modern computing has brought with it modern problems. One of the biggest problems that we'll discuss and the biggest risk to you is a phenomenon that I refer to as cyber thievery, cyber crime. You see, there are men and women out there today who earn a living working full-time doing nothing but trying to find the cyber backdoor into companies just like yours. And once they're in, they're going to help themselves to information that they can use in identity theft scams, that they can sell to other criminals, and or that they can use to help your competitors gain a competitive advantage. So we have to be on constant lookout for all of these cyber strategies to get into that back door, and tragically, many small to medium businesses leave that cyber back door open. You see, we believe that the computer system, your IT infrastructure, has become the center of most businesses. Stop and think about it. HR, sales, manufacturing, and finance all move information through the IT infrastructure. If the IT infrastructure failed, you may look like the gentleman on your screen. Now, hopefully, that never occurs. But what would a day be like if you had no IT infrastructure whatsoever? No sales could be recorded. You would have huge costs to rebuild your database. Shipping would come to a halt. Banking couldn't occur. Collections would grind to a halt. Payroll might not be processed, and payments to vendors would certainly be delayed. A life without IT really means that you're going to have to hire more employees. Profit will go down, you'll suffer more stress, and you probably will lose customers merely due to the fact that you can't service them with the promptness and accuracy and speed that you were able to in the past. So if your IT infrastructure is so important, so vital, why is it ignored? That's right, it's ignored. We tend to take it for granted. Let me share a story with you that happened recently on a coast-to-coast airplane flight. I was sitting next to a business owner, and I described what we do. And he said, "Oh, we don't need any of those services." And I asked why. And he said, "Well, it's pretty simple. I know that all of our computers are working." And I said, "How do you know that?" And he said, "All of the screens are glowing." Now, if that's your standard, if that's your criteria for a robust infrastructure, you need to pay attention for the next 20 minutes. You see, these new cyber thieves thrive on the fact that they can get into your computer system, do all the malicious damage they want to do, while everyone outside of the computer system looking at the screen thinks that everything's okay. You see, these new crooks don't break your front window and steal your inventory. In the old days, you knew that somebody broke in as soon as you drove up to your office. Today, they will go into that cyber backdoor, do malicious damage for weeks, months, and in some cases years before anyone notices that they're there. So please don't assume that the screen glowing equals in any form or fashion that your computer infrastructure is okay. And okay isn't good enough. And here's another reason why. You see, these cyber thieves are constantly looking for new ways to get into your cyber backdoor. This is why publishers like Microsoft and all reputable software publishers are constantly issuing security patches. If you patch their software, you'll stay one step ahead of these bad guys. If you don't patch it, you may as well open up the back door and paint lines on the parking lot to make it easy for them to come in. I'm being somewhat facetious. You see, it's like I'm saying at the bottom of this slide. Most decision makers, most company owners, most stakeholders don't know what they don't know as it pertains to cyber crime. And that's very risky. So the big question that I pose to you is that if the screens are glowing, are you really okay? How do you know you're okay? What's the risk that's inherent by not knowing? And what damage could be done by you assuming that the screen's glowing means you're totally protected? Or that you bought a firewall last year and that's going to protect you. Here's a clue. Last year's firewall is last year's firewall, and the cyber thieves are many steps ahead of anything created last year. You need to know that you're safe, productive, legal, and compliant. And a business owner that doesn't know that their IT infrastructure is safe and therefore their data is protected is at risk. You need to know that your IT infrastructure is not slowing your people down, that it is indeed accelerating processes, shortening cycle times to get your team to be more productive and get more done in less time. That you're in compliance with all legal statutes regarding the protection of personally identifiable information. Now, just like this doctor has done an x-ray on one of his patients, we propose to do a technology impact assessment. This is Petronella Computer's overall x-ray, or MRI if you will, on your IT infrastructure. We want you to know exactly how robust it is. And if any of the myriad of cyber backdoors are open, we'll tell you exactly which ones are open. We'll help you identify the risk associated with those doors being open, and we'll help you close, lock, and weld shut those doors to keep these cyber crooks out. If you'll look at the pyramid on your screen, I think you can understand the importance of something that most of us took for granted up until this moment, hopefully. Essentially, if the screens were glowing and we thought everything was okay, we assumed that the foundation of our business was okay. But as the old cliche goes, a shaky foundation produces a shaky house. And if you agree with me that your IT infrastructure is indeed the foundation of your business, and that all of your operations, or most of your operations in one form or another, interact with the IT infrastructure, then you have to agree that a shaky foundation will inhibit or reduce the effectiveness of operations, and that in turn will reduce the profitability of your company. And the inverse is true. A robust, accelerated, protected IT infrastructure allows operations to work at optimum levels, and that allows your company to generate more revenue per workday, more profit per day, satisfy more clients per day than it could without that. Now, our argument is that you probably protect most, if not all, of your valuable assets, including an annual health checkup. You probably have an annual insurance checkup on your home, your business, your fleet of trucks, everything that could be at risk. You probably have an annual investment review. You probably have a business plan review, operations review, and performance review. I'll bet you even get your car tuned up. But when was the last time you tuned up your IT infrastructure? And if you agree that your IT infrastructure supports operations and that supports profits, doesn't it make sense to make sure that your IT infrastructure is operating on all 8 cylinders, no spark plugs are fouled, and that you're running on high test fuel? I think it does, and the risk to you is significant. The risk includes obviously your profit, productivity. The lower the productivity, the more people you have to hire, or at bare minimum, the more overtime you have to deal with. Your peace of mind regarding your security and the future of your business are at risk. Your customers are at risk. Your business is at risk, and indeed your future is at risk. I'm going to share some data with you that comes from very reputable sources, Fortune 100 companies, and the United States government. And you may find that there are some risks that you didn't recognize. And while we're thinking about it, let's understand that for the average small to medium-sized business, every day of downtime wastes $12,500 in terms of salary and lost revenue opportunities. Every error that leaves your business creates an opportunity for a customer to discontinue their relationship with your company. Every error must be repaired, must be corrected, and these reduce productivity. You see, the Franklin Time Management Institute told us that every disruption to a worker's processes requires 6 to 8 minutes of work time to recover. That work time or recovery time is compensated, obviously, but during that recovery time, there's a 30% probability of an increase in errors. If those errors are induced by your IT infrastructure, then your frail, improperly maintained IT infrastructure is costing you money every day that you're open. Now, please recall a moment ago I said that the average cost of downtime is $12,500 per day. Now, what you really have to do is look at downtime in terms of minutes, not days. So, for instance, we recently did a technology impact assessment with a company right here in Raleigh that felt that everything was okay, but they just wanted that checkup. And it makes sense to just get the checkup to identify any and all opportunities for improvement. Well, we went through it, and the company had 18 employees working on PCs, and we found that the average PC was old, and because of its age, because of the fact that there was a lot of bad files on the software, on the hard disk, it took about 8 to 10 minutes per day per PC to, quote, warm up. Their term, not ours. So let's round it off to 10 minutes per day per employee, the company was paying people to not get their work done. 18 people times 10 minutes a day times 22 days a month times 12 months a year creates some serious financial loss. And that's what we want to make sure we get past. These problems are IT induced if your infrastructure isn't properly maintained. And frequently self-managed infrastructures, those that are in the small to medium business space, are managed by someone who has other duties and tasks. Consequently, some of the very important tasks, like making sure all security patches are loaded, get forgotten, overlooked, or put on the back burner. That in turn increases the probability of disruptions, lowers productivity, lowers cost, and impacts profits. Now, we at Petronella understand that we really have to work in a balancing act of protecting your data, protecting your company, protecting all of the legally mandated information, but at the same time optimizing productivity. And we believe that we're masters of that, and it all starts with the technology impact assessment. Let's do a little bit of homework though, and I'd like to help you understand some of the threats or issues that could impact your network. I'm going to talk about the types of security breaches that occur, the types of threats that are out there, the cyber threat continuum, and I'm going to share some great ideas with you to mitigate cybercrime, including how to protect yourself, how to identify that an attack is occurring, and what to do when it does occur. Now first, I'd like you to understand that this issue isn't just for the big boys. It is for everyone. In February of this year, Forbes said that 40% of all cyber attacks are aimed at small businesses. 72% of successful data breaches are aimed at these smaller businesses, and it makes sense because most of these businesses have self-managed IT infrastructure. This is the guy or gal who likes PCs, enjoys doing that work, and they volunteer to make sure that everything's working. Indeed, they keep the screens glowing, but the cyber back doors are open. And these breaches, according to new laws and regulation, are extremely expensive in terms of the fines companies have to pay because they didn't protect personally identifiable information well enough. 71% of small businesses, the owners of those businesses, lack confidence in their security for their network. And as many as 65% have no cyber insurance, and we encourage you to make sure that you take that problem to your insurance broker just as fast as possible. Over 20% of small businesses last year incurred a cost of at least $100,000 due to data theft. Let me repeat that. The odds are 1 in 5 that you will incur a cost of $100,000 due to data theft. Our technology impact assessment will tell you in the matter of days whether or not you are at risk for this kind of a loss and what you can do to protect yourself against it. The odds are 1 in 5. That's not very good, and I'd protect myself were I in your shoes. These losses were incurred from either downtime, personally identifiable information breaches, intellectual property being stolen, litigation and remediation costs, and fines because of the breaches. Companies that lose data suffer some very severe consequences. Number one, 60% of small businesses close within 6 months of a cyber attack. That's according to the U.S. House and Small Business Subcommittee. 93% of companies that lose their data will close in less than 1 year. So I hope you're getting the connection between our title, which is Protect Your IT Infrastructure and Protect Your Future. They will close 50% close immediately, 20% in less than 5 years, and 40% of self-managed small and medium businesses experience a breach. Now here's where the new type of crime comes into play. Half of the companies that suffered these consequences didn't know that anything had happened. You see, their screens were glowing all the time. People were working on those PCs all the time. So if you don't have the ability to run a thorough diagnostic like our technology impact assessment, you could be at risk. And remember, the odds are 1 in 5 that you are. 46 states require that small businesses report or notify any individual that could be affected by a data breach. Most have failed to do that. And the fines for failure average, and this is an average, $190,000. So you have the potential to lose $100,000 in outright cost and pay fines on average of $190,000. That's over $250,000 according to my math, and our technology impact assessment will let you know whether you're at risk, and if so, what degree of risk you're suffering under and what you can do to fix it. You must have a response plan in place because the cyber barbarians are at your gate. They're knocking every day at every door trying to find a way into your database to steal your customers' credit information. If your company does business with credit cards, they want that information badly because they can turn it around and sell it to other criminals instantaneously. Remember, these crooks are professional. All they do is try and figure out ways to get into your server to steal your information. They don't break windows anymore. They don't use guns. They sit in their homes or offices and do this for a living, albeit a criminal living, but nonetheless, that's what they're doing. Now, in addition to outside threats such as the guy on your screen, 14% of cyber attacks are conducted by insiders. These are upset or vindictive employees who are trying to hurt the company. Now, remember, the screens are glowing doesn't indicate that something's wrong. The average number of days before someone discovered that they had a problem was 416 days. So for 416 days, the screens were glowing and the cyber crooks were inside the server doing malicious harm to that company. So let's take a moment and understand what a cyber threat really is. You see, there are really 4 different types, and the 2 types at the end, the nuisance threat on the left and the hacktivist on the right, really don't do significant damage to companies. The 2 in the middle, however, are very significant. The economic espionage is when someone is trying to get in touch with and steal information such as plans, designs, strategies that can help them get an advantage over you in the competitive marketplace. The organized crime wants your client's credit information, your employees' health information. They want your company information because they're going to sell it and use it for credit card theft. So what we have to do is focus on readiness. And the first step to be ready, because we can't stop these attacks, but we can be prepared to deflect them and to defend ourselves against them, is to be ready, and that starts with a technology impact assessment. The threat continuum occurs before, during, and after an incident. You'll find that firewalls are the first step to protect yourself before an attack, and you should have an intrusion detection system in place to manage that. Content filtering is vital, and as I've said several times today, you must have absolute security, absolute certainty that 100% of the line of business security patches that have been forwarded to you by your software publishers have been installed and are operating. And keep your eye on those patches at all times. Now, one of the downside of having illegal or bootleg software, even if you didn't bring it to your company but one of your employees did, is not only are you liable for significant fines for software piracy, but that software could be a vehicle to get into your server and it could cause significant damage. Intrusion prevention systems are part of the preventative maintenance, preventative activity during an attack. Antivirus and anti-malware must be in place. And after attack, make sure that you have a contingency plan in place. The most important thing you can do today is to make sure that your backup is working. No shortage of companies have gone out of business because they thought their backup was working until they had to restore from that backed up data. Make sure that you're backing up constantly, and more important than backing up constantly, make sure that 100% of your data can be restored and is usable after it's restored onto a new server. If you don't know that that's the case, make sure you find out ASAP, because that's vital. Now, some best practices that we recommend you follow include training your employees on the IT risk. Have clear and simple company policies regarding technology. Review the risk and changes frequently. And manage and encrypt your mobile devices to make sure that they are operating the way you want them to operate, because many of the breaches that I mentioned earlier come about as a result of an employee losing a laptop or tablet or an iPhone that has access to your server. Implement endpoint security tools, perform awareness briefings with all of your employees, and make sure you lead the way and set an example. Put someone in charge of your security. You should partner with Petronella as a managed IT service provider, because 24/7, 365, we will literally guard your IT infrastructure. We will make sure via technology monitoring that everything is secure, and that if any attacks occur, they are deflected immediately. We also will make sure that outdated operating systems like Windows XP are updated so that you aren't at risk. Now, Microsoft has announced that Windows XP is at the end of life. That means they will stop publishing security patches. And I'm here to tell you, the cyber crooks can't wait for that day to come, because that means that they will have free reign, free access to all of the systems that have Windows XP in them, because they will figure out ways to get around the security that's there today before the end of life occurs. Make sure that your mobile devices have passwords and you can lock out intruders. Now, mobile devices need to have one extra step taken into consideration, which is you should be able to wipe those devices clean of data remotely. If you can't do that, write that down right now as an action item. You want to, again, back up and make sure you can restore from backup, and you want to make sure that all of your mobile devices that have access to your corporate data can be wiped remotely, and that they have passwords to lock out intruders. Now, one of the things that we do is we script inspection of every device on your network 24/7, 365. And our automated inspection tools make sure that you're protected all of the time. So in summary, I'd like to say that the threat landscape is evolving daily. The professionals are coming up with new ways to get into those cyber backdoors. We work at the side, but not on the payroll of our clients' companies, to make sure that their cyber backdoors are locked, bolted, and welded. Make sure that you are prepared and that you minimize the risk beforehand. The best way to do that is to get an outsourced IT management service provider like us to create a strategic relationship. You see, we will be your co-pilot. We'll make sure that your systems operate without chaos, and one of the things that our clients enjoy is that we are totally accountable for all of our activity. We never get involved with finger pointing, because we are responsible and therefore accountable for your optimum IT infrastructure. Not only do we work in the IT world, but we're business people. We'll sit down with you for regular business reviews to understand where you are and where you're going, so that we all can be in sync regarding your future. We don't want you to go and build new business plans and not have an IT infrastructure to support that. That will slow you down, and that's not why you have IT in the first place. We will have regular meetings with you and keep you out of cyber harm. We'll make sure that we implement our philosophy, which is we know PCs run your business, We want to help you run your PCs to get peace of mind, predictability, an easy one-vendor relationship, and total accountability. You'll benefit from a lower overall cost of your IT infrastructure, reduced overtime. You'll be able to grow without hiring additional staff. You'll have fewer errors, more office space, and a predictable budget. Now, our impact assessment analyzes the combination of downtime and other productivity impacts. We'll make sure that all of your software is legal. Remember, the fines for pirated software are stupendous. We'll make sure that every software patch that should be in place is in place, and we'll make sure that your system never slows your people down. We'll also make sure that you never lose revenue because of the system, and any risk regarding security, data, etc. is plugged and taken care of. So if you're looking for an optimum effectiveness in your company, we're the partner to help you get there. We'll give you that ounce of prevention that Ben Franklin talked about, which is worth a pound of cure. I want to thank you for your time and your attention, and you can reach us at the number on your screen, 919-422-2607. Thank you again, and have a great day.